And now the story of the weekend. Mike Ryan has been crawling around on his knees. Highlight has brought him, has resuscitated him some, Stugotz. This Canes team has resuscitated him some. But he was talking death in the family, broken. I don't know why you had to go to the extreme like you did with the fine bomb to I will renounce my fandom of the team I have loved since my abuela bought me a Browns plate at the dollar store. I'm going to renounce them if they get DeShaun Watson. You're relieved when they seem to be out on DeShaun Watson, or DeShaun Watson seemed to have rejected them. I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it was an odd line in the sand to draw, too, because their intentions were their intentions, regardless of whether or not they got the result. And I was pretty pissed off at just their interest. I was relieved when it was reported they were the first team out of the sweepstakes, because I was like, thank God it's someone else's problem. I didn't immediately go there, by the way, to the point of renouncing. No, I talked this out with you guys.
You said there was a lot.
I've asked several people what I should do in this spot. Mm-hmm. I've read a book on what to do with moral conundrums. I've spoken.
You listened to a book.
I've spoken to me. I've sought counsel with Mina Kimes on this very thing for months on end. As soon as this hypothetical got out there, this is a decision that I came to through several months' work. And I'm really bummed by it. I'm not going to do the content opportunity thing about finding a new team. Like, that's not. I do want to be honest with the audience. When the news came over, I felt like I got smacked in the face. I couldn't feel my face. I associate too much of myself with this football team. It's brought me a lot of sadness. It's brought me occasional joy, but it's a part of me. It's like if you're looking to describe me, you're playing charades, someone would mention Cleveland Browns, and it felt like someone died. Billy, when that news came in.
Why are you making faces? You think he cares too much, Billy?
If your face went numb, you need to see a
doctor.
He
was hurt.
It's not
not healthy, Mike.
Billy makes a good point. That was part of what I discovered about myself. It's like I care way too much about this laundry. Really do. But it is what it is. I'm not gonna mince words with you. I felt numb by it. It was a life-changing event. It happened during the Miami game, and I was just out of pocket for a half hour.
You were in Tampa to listen to music. Music is your escape. And when I talked to you, you sounded fundamentally broken. I felt like I was consoling someone who had lost someone they had loved.
I'm trying to figure out how I would do Cleveland Browns in charades. That'd be tough. I'd be like sitting on a toilet.
Yeah.
Like,
it's probably a different.
I think that's
probably
cheating.
a different game.
I think that's cheating at charades.
Well, it's like I can do the motion of me sitting. Like I'm not actually sitting on a toilet.
And
2 words. I don't say it. It's a podcast.
I found every detail that came out after the trade to just piss me off more.
Well, which one? Okay, so $1 million salary next year that he's going.
Disgusting. It's disgusting. It's a statement saying we did everything that we could to investigate this over the several months, except for talk to any of the accusers. I know the NFL has. Maybe they let them handle that part of the investigation. I'm so deeply bothered by this. I'm bothered by every time someone comes out in very public support of DeShaun Watson. I think less of them.
Well, hold on. It was LeBron James.
It was OBJ.
It was O.J. Simpson.
Segments of
well,
Browns.
It was
Kyle.
That was a ball sack thing.
Was it not?
Where Kyle Rittenhouse?
Oh boy,
Kyle Rittenhouse was retweeting it.
Why don't you just mute
unfollow ball sack?
No, mute
dude.
them. Then or block them. If you block them, you can't see it.
Because
it's not a real media outlet.
The ball sack and then reply to things with it. So if you get deep in the mentions, you find some ball sacks.
Yeah, here's a good rule for you to follow. Source the original tweet. If it comes from the verified check, you're good to go. But if it's a screen cap, brother, stay away.
Brother,
I'm just telling you, you're playing a dangerous game
out
out
here. Been hanging out with Lewis for a while too, haven't you?
Just stay away.
When did you start to recover? How did it?
I mean, a couple days. I still don't. There's going to be a lengthy suspension here, and I told you I can't disassociate myself from their success with DeShaun Watson under center. But they're going to be the shitty old Browns with Jacoby Brissett for like half a season. How am I going to feel when they're actually playing games? How am I going to feel when they turn out to be a solid team? I don't know how I'm going to feel like when we get going. Right now, I'm disgusted by them.
That team was a quarterback away in that division, in that sport, where all the games were 3 points. The Browns, even injured, were right there the entire season. Defense is good enough. Is it true that Jarvis Landry might actually go back there now. So
Yeah, they're
it would
talking
be
about Jarvis Landry.
It'll be Jarvis Landry
Funny.
and Amari Cooper. So what are the other details that kept making it worse and
largest
worse?
guaranteed contract, the only fully guaranteed in NFL history contract. The front-loaded guaranteed signing bonus to kind of reward him as he suffers his suspension, which as a punitive measure will only deduct from a $1 million base salary. The fact that they didn't talk to any of the alleged accusers, the fact that in recent days I listened to Mina Kimes with Pablo Torre on ESPN Daily, and I learned even more about the nature of the accusations and the criminal grand jury testimony, which only actually heard out 9 of 10 people that went to criminal charges.
And also only one woman, I believe, was
spoke.
called in to speak in front of the grand jury.
Yeah, to familiarize myself with just the general history of sexual misconduct and assault allegations in this country, to know, to do the recall, to remember the press conference with the alleged victims in all of this, to hear stories. Jenny Vrentas did an article where she spoke to someone that used an alias that actually was in the room with DeShaun Watson, decided against bringing forth any charges or join this class action lawsuit, but she detailed some of the inappropriate things she witnessed. I can't continue supporting the Cleveland Browns right now. That's my feeling. When they did this, I felt it was a betrayal. I was very as vocal as I possibly could using my platform to try to wheel this away from Cleveland. And they welcomed it in it. And I feel shunned. I feel so let down. I shouldn't be, because it's pro football. It's disgusting. Jimmy Haslam has shown me his true colors time and time again. I held Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski in higher regard. I shouldn't have. I feel betrayed. And I honestly know that there are people in this room that don't have the same kind of passion for pro football teams as I do. Just thank God you're not the one like feeling this right now, because it sucks.
Are you sure that it's not going to change?
It feels like it might change.
Well, I'm not gonna entertain your bullshit right now. Like the cynicism, it might. I don't know how I'm gonna feel when they're starting to play football. I don't know how I'm gonna feel if it's November and they have a meaningful game on Monday Night Football against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know. I'm just telling you right now, I'm so hurt by it, and every time I read about it, it gets me more angry.
They are counting, and this is the math. I mean, we've talked to Sampson about how cutthroat some of this stuff is. They are counting on that'll go away by week 8, that no matter how badly you feel or women feel, that this will dissipate, that it'll go away, that any transaction or transgression like this goes away with touchdowns. You sprinkle touchdowns on it, and your customers will not leave. You cannot
sprinkle wins on it.
Stugotz, you can't make this decision that they made. This decision, we're going to compete for this guy. We're going to beg this guy. We're going to let him interview us. We're going to give up a ton of draft picks for this guy. He's going to be interviewing us, and then we're going to guarantee him many tens of millions of dollars more than any player ever. That is not thinking that your customer is going to reject that. Women, moralists, you're saying to yourself in those meetings, when you make that decision, we are banking on this for a decade. This is it. This is our quarterback, face of the franchise. We're bringing all of these stains into the huddle. They don't care about the customer, or they do not believe the customer will leave. And I don't know that they're wrong, because you could protest all you want around that huddle. I don't think Browns fans will leave, and the cheering in week 8 when he runs out onto the field to replace that broken Jacoby Brissett out there is going to be something that is going to bother Mike Ryan again when it happens, because that fan base isn't going to turn on him. That fan base
is going to give him a standing ovation.
That fan base is expecting a savior.
I think that David Sampson has said this himself, when the measure of success by these sports owners is how much money they make, and by winning games you make more money and become more popular. These things, there's always going to be people who get away with alleged abuse that are part of your system if they're good enough to help you win those games. So I think the argument that I've heard Sampson make, that's fans are still going to go to the game, so the owner is going to make this decision 10 out of 10 times, is kind of bullshit, because it takes the buck away from the owner, who is the person who's guaranteeing the $230 million contract and giving him a $1 million salary.
But you can't give it unless you withhold your dollar. You're not going to make the owners do anything unless you withhold your dollar.
Right. That's what I'm saying. And that's what is important to owners, not, hiring a guy who has 23 accusations of sexual misconduct against him. And so there's always going to be issues of abuse in sports because making money is what's important. And so I feel for Mike. I've been in this position before. Like it sucks. Like sports make you have to choose moral, best case scenarios sometimes. And it's being a sports fan is hard. It's not fun all the time. It's shitty because at the end of the day, the people that own your team don't care about how good you feel about watching the game and if you're cool with all the decisions they make. They just want to make more money. They don't really care about you.
The NFL values value, not values. And I've been telling you for more than a decade, Stugotz, that the ultra-conservative NFL shouldn't be dispensing moralities. Fairness isn't what you get when you sort of walk into the courtroom and the judge's robe is covered in blood. That's how you find yourself today with DeShaun Watson getting more guaranteed dollars than any player ever, and Colin Kaepernick can't play. But when you talk about, well, he hasn't been charged, he hasn't been convicted, that's fair. When you talk about due process, that's fair. But Roger Goodell entered these waters, Stugotz, and I don't know if people understand this because they're so concerned about optics in the NFL and not so much about what really is. Roger Goodell, remember, they sent out a press release. 0 salary for Roger Goodell at the start of the pandemic. 0 salary. Did not mention in that press release that the last 2 years of bonuses is $127 million. 0 salary. He makes more for the last 2 years than Mahomes will make for the next 3. The commissioner of the sport, who tramples due process. When Roethlisberger was not charged or convicted, 6 games. It got reduced because it's collectively bargained and the players' union has to fight for these things because Goodell gave himself infinite jurisdiction on this stuff. So it becomes 4 games. They're going to hammer DeShaun Watson. And the Players Association will have to fight it and get it reduced. My guess is he will overpunish like he always does. He overpunishes. He chases Tom Brady and asks for his phone. He suspends Josh Gordon for weed. The Saints bounties, chases them around, but doesn't mess with Saints management when they're allegedly doing stuff with the archdiocese to cover up altar boy diddling. He's made his name on being the commissioner who overpunishes. DeShaun Watson has gotten a year of not playing, but didn't lose any salary. I don't know what this punishment is going to be, but I suspect that we're going to see another Browns season ruined by it, that you're going to have to wait for
I think the Browns knew that going into this, right?
And yet still, Stugotz, I mean, how much louder do they have to tell you? Roethlisberger got 6 games for 2 women, not 22 women. And we can sit here and talk about innocent till proven guilty, and you are really stretching the word innocent if you think DeShaun Watson is innocent. What we have learned over the last few years as minorities and as women have gotten their voices heard is that the system that investigates, incarcerates, doesn't arrest, that the system is really broken when it comes to women and whether they've been wronged here. For 22 women to come forth, like you can think if you want that they're all gold diggers, but I suspect if I were DeShaun Watson and they were all gold diggers, I'd be consulting government agencies about a criminal conspiracy. If these women are just in this, they weren't wronged at all. He's just innocent, totally innocent. Nothing bad happened here. There are no charges. There are no convictions.
I don't really ever hear from DeShaun Watson in his own defense. He pleads the fifth. He hired over 40 different massage therapists. There's some behavior here that I would love to hear explained. That's also part of this, too, when people do the moral comparison shopping. Like, why are you not okay with DeShaun Watson, but you're okay in other scenarios? I described what I was feeling with Kareem Hunt. There's no public atonement here. There's no public regret. His defense through his spokespeople is that he feels like he's been wronged throughout this, but not wronged to the point that he will actually come out in a public forum and speak, or even to a grand jury. He won't speak. I'm just, the whole thing is revolting. It really is, and I am so hurt.
Can I ask all of you the question? If there are no charges and no conviction, but the precedent is that Goodell will trample due process, doesn't need charges and conviction. When 2 women accused Roethlisberger, he got 6 games.
Yeah, Ezekiel Elliott, also a recent situation where you didn't need a criminal
He
charge
protects
before
the
this.
brand, Stugotz. He's got $127 million in bonuses the last 2 years because his whole thing is he protects the shield from the stain of this semen. Like, this is what now leads a team. His league is now the league that ignores its female customers. They've been marketing to the women, Stugotz, because they need the pipeline of children, mothers, sending children back as meat into the mill. They've been marketing toward women. What do you do as a league when you are telling those women, not only will all our teams compete for this, not only will they allow him to interview them, not the other way around, not only will he get 80 million or 70 million more guaranteed than any player ever, but also a ton of draft picks as well. We value value, not values.
So are you asking me what should the league do in an effort to make themselves look better to the masses? Yeah, give them a year. Give him more. I mean, there's not enough time they can give him. It's not going to satisfy everyone, but give him a year. Suspend him for a year.
With no charges and no conviction. Like, this places them in a conundrum. I'd really like to, I have not seen good reporting on what Houston did here because it was no exempt list. It cost him no money. But basically what you've invited into your huddle of America's most popular league and the religion of Sundays is a man who is stained, whether you think he's guilty or not, sex crimes. Sexual misconduct. That's what 22 women, whether you think, it doesn't matter, Stugotz, right now, whether we punish him $50 million or many games. This is what the league has made its statement. There's no unseeing what we just saw. It's as cold a truth as you will ever see in commerce. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We don't care. No criminal charges. He's out of jail. That's all that matters. He's got his freedom, and that freedom will lead to touchdowns. And we don't care if there are no women at our games. We don't believe them when they say they and their husbands won't come anymore to our games.
Just how did the pros and cons work here? Even if we want to coldly look at this from a football perspective, is inviting all of this worth it?
But they all said yes. Every team.
You're going to give up 3 first-round draft picks. And
There was
give
a
up,
sweepstakes.
Every
My
team
4
without a
teams said
quarterback.
yes.
They were
saw
told
it.
no.
But 4 teams said yes.
And after hearing no, they got together and were like, we want this guy so badly that we're going to make him an offer he can't refuse after he told us we were the first team out and we were embarrassed publicly.
Well, their quarterback threatened to not play and quit, so they needed a quarterback.
Now,
So they had to get back in.
I will tell you, they knew the Baker shit months in advance. That's all public posturing, and that's fine by Baker. He didn't have the Browns by the balls. They knew this scenario, just like Baker knew that they were going to look to upgrade at the position. Anything else is bullshit.
But Mike, just cut
building.
right to it. You know what happened here. I mean, the Browns don't care. They wanted a top 5 quarterback. They got a top 5 quarterback. They don't care about their fan base.
What about top 10? Like, where does morality apply to this pros and cons board?
It doesn't.
You have Matt Ryan over
Mike,
there.
but it doesn't.
Just like, give me something else. It can't surely.
But Goodell,
this can't be the
Mike,
best possible option.
Why are you looking for morality from your sports league? My argument would be because
It's a low bar.
No, but Goodell said we're going to be moralities, and now it forces him to God.
But just like
it forces him to overpunish just for the
And
appearances.
that's exactly what he's going to do. Overpunish.
I don't think Goodell welcomed this specifically. I think it's the same thing with the Brian Flores lawsuit. Ultimately, these are 32 owners.
No, Mike.
And they're gonna do whatever they want.
Mike, he welcomed it by being the commissioner who, when he led, would trample due process, would chase Tom Brady around because he was going to run a moral league. He did welcome
it. And he set a precedent. It'll probably be 6 to 8 games, and the Browns showed that.
I think it'll be more than that.
What
Mike.
he did not see that changed when making the decisions that arrive at the conflict, at the crossroads of due process versus 22 accusers. He didn't foresee Me Too. Just like with Kaepernick, he didn't foresee George Floyd. And they, how could he foresee it? But when you make yourself moral arbiter, he could not have imagined the day. Wait a minute, I'm going to have to choose between due process, no charges, no arrest, no conviction. I'm going to overpunish so much that I'm going to be the morality police, and then everyone's going to look to me because I've made $127 million in bonuses the last 2 years. As this cash cow overruns streaming so much that Joe Buck and everybody's getting rich with $1 million contracts. He couldn't have foreseen it. But it's why I've been telling you for goddamn 10 years. This guy is over his head outside of his jurisdiction trying to solve things that our legal system isn't equipped to solve.
I understand, and it's hard to pass up the Roger Goodell bait, but I'm going to keep my eye on the ball on this one. That's low-hanging fruit to me, and that I've heard that show 40 fucking times in my life. The Browns made a choice here. The Browns gave something up. This is on Jimmy Haslam. This is on Kevin Stefanski. This is on Andrew Berry. This is on that organization. That organization. Roger Goodell has to answer for them. Roger Goodell right now is doing his job by you even mentioning his name, because this is a Jimmy Haslam thing.
But it's not just Jimmy Haslam. It's
I
all
understand
of these guys.
but there was one
Like
team.
Jimmy Haslam is
there was
Roger
one
Goodell's
team
boss,
willing to
Mike.
go to these lengths. There was one team willing to get themselves back into the race after they were told no. There was one team that desperate to invite this into their franchise. It was the Cleveland Browns. It was Jimmy Haslam. It was D. Haslam. It was the former coach of the year that signed off on it, according to my sources. Andrew Berry, good guy, seemed like a good guy, all about it. It was that organization that asked for this. I'm not letting them off the hook. I'm not.
I'm going to read their statement to you here, Stugotz, because they took days to do this. They, on Sunday morning, is that when they released their statement?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We spent a tremendous amount of time exploring and investigating the opportunity to trade for DeShaun Watson. We are acutely aware and empathetic to the highly personal sentiments expressed about this decision. Our team's comprehensive evaluation process was of utmost importance due to the sensitive nature of his situation and the complex factors involved. We also understand there are still some legal proceedings that are ongoing, and we will respect due process. It was pivotal that we, along with Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski, meet with DeShaun to have a straightforward dialogue, discuss our priorities, and hear directly from him on how he wants to approach his career on and off the field. He was humble, sincere, and candid. In our conversations, DeShaun detailed his commitment to leading our team. He understands and embraces the hard work needed to build his name both in the community and on the field. Those in-depth conversations, the extensive evaluation process, his dedication to being a great teammate, and devotion to helping others within the NFL, within the community, and through his charitable initiatives provided the foundation for us to pursue DeShaun. We are confident in DeShaun and excited about moving forward with him as our quarterback and supporting his genuine and determined efforts. Statement from D and Jimmy Haslam. Took days to prepare, many people writing it, I'm sure, many people having meetings to use a lot of words that satiated no one when they were released.
Never reached out to the attorney, never reached out to any of his clients, not any of the teams, not just the Browns, any of the teams or the NFL.
It is odd to say how extensive you were about your investigation when you're not, that we can't find proof yet that you were talking to the
But what do you guys
alleged
want
victim.
them to write? We all know what happened here. A quarterback became available. They wanted him. They gave up a lot of draft picks and a lot of stuff to get that quarterback because they want the quarterback.
The honesty
you want them to write that?
The honesty would actually be, it would be less
like,
dishonest.
Hey, this is gross, but he's available and we wanted him.
It would be less dishonest and, frankly, less hurtful if they were that brazen about saying it, as opposed to saying he was nice and humble when we talked to him for 90 minutes.
It was an interesting question posed by Stugotz. What do you want them to write? And I would answer, it's not necessarily what I want them to write, because from a statement standpoint, could have gone better, maybe, but it's all right. It's not what I wanted them to write. It's what I wanted them to do. I want details about exactly how did they investigate these allegations? Did they have access to NFL investigators who have reportedly, among their questions, asked women what they were wearing when they were seeing DeShaun Watson? I want to know those details. I want I want a team to realize that they can't do this and they can't actually have a thorough investigation themselves if they're not talking to accusers. Their thorough investigation was taking DeShaun Watson's word for it.
I also want to know if they are confident that there won't be more bad news. Like, if there's 22 accusers, that's a lot of people. We know he had more massage therapists than that, and I just don't know how you don't anticipate more bad news coming from this guy, whether if it's a civil settlement or whatever. But
why would women come forward now? Why would
women come forward ever?
I know
this guy just got the biggest contract, but women
but especially
do.
now, to Dan's
women
point.
still
Well,
do.
there have to be more, because we mentioned the 22 that filed lawsuit. We know of already 2 that felt like their personal space was invaded, that felt like there was sexual misconduct, and at least 2 decided to not go forth and join the lawsuit. There are more. There are more. I don't know. That's so sick too. It's like in part of their evaluation process, it's like, are there any more? Like, are there any more than 22? Think about it. 25, that'd be a problem. 22. If 3 more come forward, whoosh, we got a real situation.
I've seen both numbers, 22, 23. I don't get why we don't learn some of the things that we learned from Cosby. It's not when there are that many accusers. Stugotz, you might
it's
be
almost if Dan. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's 22. It's almost like so easy to disassociate yourself from that number because it's so gargantuan. You can't even like wrap your brain around 22. It's almost as if it's worse than if there were 4. If I went in that room right now and I dropped 22 number 2 pencils on your workspace, you'd be like, what the hell is this?
It's 22 women brave enough to do it, right? Because everything works against you doing it. You can say that they're that interested in money, but a number of different factors, including the hatred of men, Stugotz, dissuade women from doing this. And I wonder if the people listening to this are just pounding the drum on innocent until proven guilty when the systems, Stugotz, that are in place are faulty on this stuff. They work against the women. They were not devised by women.
But Dan, they'll say that to rationalize how it is they feel about this. They will. I mean, a lot of people will say that.
But
he's innocent. He's not in jail.
They could counter me, though, with, hey, Dan, what happened to you always supporting the misbehaving athlete? What happened to there are no charges and there is no conviction? What happened to due process? Like, that one seems to go, Stugotz, that one goes to the top of American freedoms. Due process. Many people listening to this are saying, they are surmising, it must be 22 women not telling the truth, lying, interested in money. There are many people listening to this who are saying if he's not convicted of anything, then he's innocent. And I just don't know how you see that many accusers come forth, braving what they have to brave to do it, and see innocence there. And I'm the one who's always defending the misbehaving athlete, always. But that can't, when it's 22 women, Stugotz, to me, there is a difference between 4 and 22.
Dan, they see innocence because he's not in jail. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just telling you this is what they do to rationalize and justify how it is they feel. They see innocence because he's out there doing the same stuff that we're all doing. I mean, he's free.
Well, no, he was rewarded.
Doing more.
No,
yes.
Be clear on this. He was rewarded.
He got a new deal.
He got
He chose his team.
He got everything he
got
wanted,
the contract.
and is now on a team that was him away. He got everything that he wanted. It wasn't that he was punished. He was rewarded. He got all of his salary for last year.
It's gross.
His salary next year, if they do suspend him 12 games, is $1 million because the lawyers did creative accounting. And I've got to assume that the punishment is going to be more money than that. I don't think the NFL is going to let him get away with lawyering his way around what the financial penalty is going to be.
The way they did the contract, it says here that he will lose $55,000 every time he misses a game. He's suspended a game, so $55,000 per game.
Disgusting.
Yeah, it's
I'm
gross.
I'm sorry I killed the vibe in here. My tone's all bad. I'm sorry, but
You're upset.
No, I'm not. I'm also not here to like make people feel bad. If they want to still be the Browns fans, I get it. If it's a bridge too far, I totally understand. I'm not here to make you feel guilty about drafting DeShaun Watson in fantasy football. I'm just trying to be honest with how that meant, what Friday meant to me, what Friday signaled to me. And it was just a whole reckoning with fandom. I'm going through it between this and a Russian oligarch owning the team that I used to have a partnership. I'm just trying to evaluate sports fandom as a whole. And it's just, I have a lot of moral conflict about it. And thank God for the Cesa Cyclones, because they're the last pure thing in sports for me. And they replaced this Cleveland Brown size hole in my heart. And now I'm all about the cones.
Nothing fishy going on with the cones. We're good, man. That's right. We're doing it all right.
Nothing yet.
Treating people right. You can count on respect when you root for the cones.
Right. You would never sign DeShaun Watson.
I would never.
Why were you wearing a cowboy hat yesterday?
Why wouldn't I wear a cowboy hat?
an
Did you
owner.
see me? I looked great.
The power move.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to give off strength and power.
An oil man?
You know.
I'm not a fan of what he's doing with the Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean, it
was a good look.
was just
looked
I was
great.
just trying to give off. You know, I wanted my players to look up at the owner's box and be like, "Where's up? There he is."
That guy's in charge.
Yeah.
The walking stick, when people were trying to get to the owner's suite and you would just point the walking stick and then pull it like back over your shoulder, like, hey, they're with me.
Do you have a direct line yet down to the team? Like,
Team comes up to the owner's box.
I know, but I like you just
I
being
have a
able to-
group text
You
with
do,
them on the
right.
side.
You should
During
get
the
a direct
game,
line put in. Yeah.
During the game, I did not. Jedin would come up, as I said before. Jedin would come up and give me updates. So during the game, I need to work on that, honestly. But
You should.
I didn't want to mess with them yesterday. They were perfect. Like if something needed
They
to
did.
me,
It was-
I
you only pick up the phone when you need
I was
to pick up
prepared
the
to
phone.
bust into
Right.
the locker room, but it was only during that Manny match where we were starting to get down, and then Jedin came over. I sent the message back to the team, and then next thing you know, Manny's carrying us to a.
Message received.
Oh my God! I wonder what Manny's doing right now. Probably still sleeping. He better be. I told him after the game. I was like, I know you had a while. Like, don't go out and go party tonight. Let's stay focused. See, like I was very
Right.
excited. I felt like I gave off. It's my first day as an owner. You don't want to go to the press conference and be overly excited. You want to long season. We still got a lot of work to do.
Act like
I
you've been there, yeah.
I didn't give off enough of that last night, so I think I want to change my tone. Last night was fine. It was it's what we expected, but it's just the start. This is not. I don't want to get overly excited
How
about what I
old
saw.
is Manny?
If I had to guess, I'd say 49.
The show is always made better, even if it's occasionally with a late arrival. When Amin El Hassan shows up smelling like red eye, he continues to make this terrible, terrible decision of flying in the night before.
And complains about it every single time. We all tell him the red eye's a dangerous game.
This one is the most dangerous because he was in row 30, sandwiched between a couple for some reason. The couple wanted the aisle and the window seat, so Amin wasn't merely stuck between two people who weren't leaning on each other to rest, but they were also talking to each other.
That's a row 30 couple where they say, hey, I'll take the aisle, you take the window. No one will dare sit in between us. That's what they do. I'm serious.
When's the last time you got on a plane and had an empty seat next to you? Never. I know on American Airlines, unless you're flying like the little puddle jumper to Cleveland or somewhere like that, it's always packed because they will get people on standby. They will get people upgraded from something else. They'll get people switching from a different flight like I was. Like, there's never a time where I've sat there with an empty seat next to me. So this math of like, oh, if we get row 30, I'll get the window, you get the aisle, and then no one will sit in between us. Like, it's not a Southwest flight. It's not open seating where people are walking in.
So when you're on a flight and say, okay, this happened to us on the way home from Austin. We had Billy in the aisle and Lewis in the window and some random guy in between them. Is Lewis supposed to switch with that guy, or is Billy supposed to switch and take the middle seat?
So in that case, we're talking about two friends, two coworkers. No, there is no impetus for that to happen. But if you're a couple and it's a red-eye flight, you're gonna be sleeping. Guess what? Lean against each other.
No, that's true. I want to snuggle. Even if it's not a red eye, I'm like, I want to steal your armrest. You're my boyfriend. Like, let me get in your personal space. I don't care if you don't have any space. Now your space is my space. It doesn't matter if I'm in the middle, in the aisle, on the window. Like, I'm taking his entire airspace. Like, he has sold his air rights to me.
Yeah, you're
on that
lifting
flight.
You're lifting that armrest, right? Like we're tearing down
Absolutely.
walls. We're
cuddling.
taking down barriers. We are one. Two become one, like the old Spice Girls song.
Mm-hmm.
Is he humming it?
Did
good
you
vibes.
snuggle? Did you snuggle, by the way, with the strangers? With the
No,
couple?
they were talking.
Did they snuggle with you?
Stugotz, they were having a conversation. You know what? Because I like to start watching something, and then eventually I'll fall asleep. So I was watching Devil's Advocate last night. Oh, I love that movie.
It's a good one.
I'm a fan of man.
That is a good one. So you just checked in with Devil's Advocate with Pacino and Keanu Reeves out of nowhere.
Charlize Theron is in it.
Wait a minute, is that? Are you doing that for Cinephobe?
Charlize
That does not have an under 40 rating.
No, yeah, it does not. Sadly, does not qualify because let me tell you something. Pacino, ass off, 100%.
He
Ass all the way off.
is that where he just decided to spend the rest of his career screaming, or was it Scent of a Woman?
Scent of a Woman.
At some
That's
point, he
Scent
just
of a Woman.
decided to spend. You know what? I'm going out the last 30 years. I'm just going to scream at everybody.
Scent of a Woman, and then Heat, and then everything after that just turned into just do that character over and over again.
Devil's Advocate wasn't before those. That
97.
was after Scent of a Woman.
1997, man. Yeah. Delroy Lindo was in it in a supporting role as a witch doctor of some sorts.
So if this,
Have you seen it?
Oh God, no. If
Oh,
this
my
guy
God.
next to you on the flight started watching Devil's Advocate with you, would you would you just kind of become part of their couple then? Like you guys are all like friends now?
That movie is older than Jessica.
Is
No,
it?
it's a little bit younger than me. I think 1997.
Yeah, it's a 97 movie.
Lose.
But thank you.
I don't lose. I win. I'm a lawyer.
You got to give me more North Florida accent in there.
Lose. I don't lose. I win. I'm a lawyer.
So
Excellent.
It's, again, if you don't know the premise, Keanu Reeves was a lawyer from the South who sold his soul to Al Pacino,
Gainesville.
who was the devil. Gainesville lawyer.
Oh, so he's the devil's
Advocate.
Ah,
She said it.
There you go.
She said
I said it.
Satan. Call me dad.
Stugotz, there is some not surprising news being reported from The Athletic. Jason Jenks and Mike Sando reporting about Urban Meyer. A lot of details in here that are embarrassing to Urban Meyer. He is being quoted as saying, according to 4 people in one of the meeting rooms, and do you know what would happen if I cut you guys? You couldn't get a job paying more than $15 an hour.
Yikes.
A veteran member of the football operations staff said, quote, the most toxic environment I've ever been a part of, by far, not even close. Meyer was unfamiliar with star players around the league, Deebo Samuel, Jamal Adams, Aaron Donald, the 3-time defensive player on the year. Meyer asked one staffer during the season, according to a source, who's this 99 guy on the Rams? I'm hearing he might be a problem for us.
This is after he said it. I remember him saying it. He did a 6-month deep dive into the NFL. I mean, Jesus Christ.
I mean, that's amazing.
That's
simply can't be true.
It's number 12 for Tampa.
This cannot be true. It's a
Pretty much.
3-time defensive player of the year. That quote can't be right. Who's this 99 guy on the Rams? I'm hearing he might be a problem for
I
us.
refuse.
Might be a problem.
That can't be true. It can't
This
be.
okay, hold on. Is this courtesy of Ballsack Sports?
No, this is real reporting.
This is real. Okay, just want to make because that's a Ballsack quote right
I
there.
hear he could be a problem.
My favorite part of that article was that after the game where he didn't go on the team flight back to Jacksonville and he went to the steakhouse and then those videos came out, apparently he went around to all the position groups at practice the next Monday and was like, hey, this woman was trying to drag me onto the dance floor. Like, that's all that was. Don't, pay no mind. And then another video came out afterwards where he appeared to be more interested in the woman. And then they were all like, dude, you're full of shit. Like, he just lies to everyone all the time.
But it's my favorite kind of lie, the unnecessary lie, right? It's what Stugotz peddles in, right? Like, you didn't need to say anything. You could have just gone about your business. But no, I feel an opportunity here to tell a ridiculous lie.
You want to feel part of it. That's all.
It's all Stugotz says. Stugotz understands this creature
I
more
do,
than
yeah.
anybody.
Yeah.
Loves. Can you not picture Stugotz walking in thinking that he's got the NFL owned and saying, "Hey, who's this 99 guy?" I'm hearing he
99,
might be
tell me about.
He might be a problem for us. There are other details in here that
The James Robinson thing, that he benched James Robinson and then he told the media like he doesn't have any say in that, he doesn't micromanage, and then he told his coaches like, hey, you guys just misunderstood me when I said like get him out of here. I didn't mean like bench him for the rest of the game or something. Like, there's just so much like it sounds so toxic, and there's so much in here. There's the Josh Lambo thing where he apparently said to Josh Lambo, hey, dipshit, make your fucking kicks.
That's a great
before
line.
he kicked him in warm-ups.
That's a great line. I'm not mad at that one.
Is he wrong?
Hey, dipshit, make your... When you call someone dipshit, like...
According to the
It is one of my favorite insults.
That's
Put
great.
it on the poll, Guillermo. Better insult, dipshit or ass wipe? What is a dipshit?
What is a
Are you
dipshit?
dipping? Are you dipping like
It just
something?
sounds great,
Is
yeah.
it something like you're dipping it like you would test oil in the engine of your car? You're just dipping it in shit. That's what you are. Somebody who measures shit by putting that person in it and dipping it.
So I imagine you're walking and then there's a huge trench in front of you and it's full of shit. But you don't know if it's like ankle deep or is it like neck deep. So you get your dip shit out and you dip it all the way in and it's like
Just to check,
it's,
right.
Yep, no, 6'3". No, guys.
Your dipstick and your dipshit. Yeah, and you test the depth of the dipshit.
There you go.
What is Whittingham? Can you help us here with the formal definition of dipshit? Because there are other details in this athletic story, Stugotz. He allegedly forbade players from speaking with opponents on the field before games. He once claimed the Jags lost because they dressed sloppily. He told offensive players he wanted them to dunk the ball over the goalpost after touchdowns, even though doing so would get a fine from the league. And then, of course, the way he treated people is something that's being reported here as he just, with absolute power comes absolute corruption.
Is Tony Khan coming on anytime soon? I'd love to run some of these quotes with him.
He did say that the environment had been changed for the better. He could not have been. It's not possible to be more wrong than he was.
Was he wrong or was like the Urban Meyer fraudulence just rubbing off on him? Like the idea that he could have just said, hey, we're really excited, whatever. He oversold it. He was like, I've never met a leader of men like this. And it was just so over the top that he really painted himself into a corner.
I don't doubt that Urban Meyer impresses the people that he needs to impress, but his big problem with all of this is that he thought he could get away with what he's probably gotten away with college players, with paid professionals who know better, who were coached by Doug Peterson and other NFL coaches who probably don't operate in this level of dysfunction that Urban Meyer does. And when you're coaching college kids who, need their scholarship, they're not making any money, they're probably not going to go to the media because they're afraid, and they probably don't know better. They think that this is how this should all work, that like someone, your head coach should operate in this way. You can get away with it for a really long time, win a couple national championships, and have a sterling reputation. Although he didn't really have a sterling reputation by the end of it, but for other reasons, not because of the way he treated his players.
You've got Gruden and Urban Meyer taking a pretty substantive tumble that you don't see a lot, where a guy goes from, not merely do I think he's excellent at what he does, but I might be willing to cover up some foibles because his excellence is so excellent that he wins the national championship with his third-string quarterback in college football. To go from that to bozo in 14 games, in 14 professional games, Stugotz?
I mean, he did it to himself with the way he acted once he got that job. I don't think some of this stuff is not surprising to a lot of people, I don't think. But Urban Meyer's back in the game. He is.
I don't know.
Who's number 99 for the Rams? I hear he could be a problem. Surprised.
Oh, do you not have SportsCenter?
That part is surprising.
Aaron
Some of
Donald
the
is a
ways he
beast.
acted, though, not surprising. That part is surprising, but a lot of the stuff here, a lot of the details, not terribly surprising.
A lot of people weirdly predicted that this would be a calamity as soon as he got there. That's not something that you can often do correctly. But to not last a season, Stugotz, and to be someone who went from everybody wants him, can have any job that he wants, turns down the Texas job that would have paid him more than any college coach other than Nick Saban, turns it down with absolute power. To desecrate it, you just said that you think he can make his way back into the game.
I think he got a job already with Ohio State. He's handling NIL deals for the university,
okay,
for
but
the athletes.
getting a job is not the same as the job that he wants.
I don't think John Gruden has a job. I mean,
okay, but John Gruden's a bigot who is publicly radioactive.
Yeah, Urban Meyer should get a job.
But a job, that's
Look,
he's doing clerical work.
Rick
that's a
Pitino
job
got
to
it.
a job. We all know it's a job to a job. Urban Meyer will be back. I promise you. At some point, he'll be coaching someone somewhere.
100%.
It's like Rick Pitino. Like Rick Pitino found his way back to college basketball, and Iona is doing well. At some point, we're going to see him at a big school again. I believe that's true about Urban Meyer as well. But I just want to go back to the idea that these college guys live in such a bubble. It reminds me of John Beilein when he was coaching the Cavs. and just a fundamental ignorance about very surface level the shit that fans know. Like the casual fans know who Aaron Donald is. How do you not know who Aaron Donald is? That is staggering. It is like, to me, that is a level of what was the conversation like in your interview process? If you can't even identify a literal all-time great. What was the interview about? Was the interview about just generic things?
And the Jaguars had the number 1 overall pick last season and Trevor Lawrence, and basically just squandered the first season, his rookie season in the NFL. And like, to Amin's point, not only is he just like interviewing for a job, he's interviewing for a job for a franchise that is now in a position where they have one of the highest touted quarterbacks in the draft of all time, and doesn't know who is going to be potentially against that guy,
chasing after him
in the season.
Not to, look, the hiring of Urban Meyer was disastrous, but in their defense, I never thought part of the job application process would be holding up a still image of Aaron Donald saying, "Who is this?"
Name 5 NFL players.
There is another detail in here. Not long after veteran receiver John Brown signed with the Jags as a free agent, he ran the wrong route in practice. And to correct the mistake, Brown, who is from Florida, and rookie quarterback Trevor Lawrence ran through the route again after practice. Meyer walked up to the pair and, according to sources, said, "Hey, Trevor, you've got to slow it down for him. These boys from the South, their transcripts ain't right." So he's just actively insulting
So he's a bigot too.
Can you imagine what he said to college kids?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Let's get the origins, please, of dipshit to close out, to punctuate the segment.
So it begins with dip. Dip in 1920 slang was a stupid person or an eccentric person, perhaps a back formation from dippy, this according to etymonline.com. Dipshit is an emphatic form of dip. Dipstick may be a euphemism or may reflect putative dipstick penis.
What?